Welcome, everybody. Happy 4th. Ooh, we've dropped all the way down to 300. All right, time to catch up. I was doing a little bit at Friday Night Magic last night, so made a little bit of progress. The health recovery from collectives is so nice. The way my opponents seem to hate their own heavy attacks when I play Lizard needs to be studied. Hey, Bleezy, how's it going, dude? You're not going to let me refresh those, are you? Okay. I'll take that. Yeah, that was way too early. You talking about Tarantula, Ujib? If so, thank you. Happy 4th, everybody. How's it going, Kurt? Okay, is there anyone here who's a problem? She does the special concussion thing, right? No, she purifies. That's only my version. This one, we're gonna want some kind of healing reversal. That'll be good. Also be good. Most of these are fine. Cool. I don't need to be super precise with this one. We're still nowhere near the danger zone. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing him live. Yeah, Bleezy Tarantula is mine and Bitter Steel's. We collabed for this one. I haven't actually needed to follow up the special 3 with her yet, but I'm trying to do this properly so that I'm in practice for it. I don't know why I did that. That was dumb. There we go. Hey, Ritten. I am now working on Karina, but that is a good guess. She would count as working on a champion. Her kid is really cool, though. I can't wait to talk about it. I did, Rutagora, yeah. How's it going, Andrew? With some help. That would be cool, Callum. I don't think that's a hot take, Blazy. I mean, Cassie's the only one that holds on to him forever. But I do think Spider-Woman solves more problems, which is probably where a lot of actual disagreement comes from. Hey, Ersham. So, this is not saying anything about Karina, but I will say broadly, Retin, like, if we do a superior champ, it will not be just for the point of one champion. Because in the time that I've been at the company, we have come really close to shipping superior champions, like at least 3 times. And the main reason we never have is because there's a pretty significant amount of cleanup that would need to be done. And we just haven't had time for it, right? Like we would need to go through and make sure a whole lot of things are listening for class advantage in a more comprehensive way. We would need to make sure that we're describing them accurately, that any that we don't change, that there's a reason for it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, like there would be a lot of cleanup needed. But there are plenty of opportunities that having the ability to use superior champions would give us. And so if it ever does happen, it won't be something that we resort to for one character. It will very much be something that we've been wanting to do for a long time. Towers is the best game mode. Fun figuring out how to punch up, get past roadblocks. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's like, as one person put it, it's min-max heaven. And that's not going to be for everyone. Like, I don't think that this should be the whole game. But I very much enjoy it, and I'm very happy that we have it. Okay, that was overkill. Yes, she does, Urchem, and she... If the way our community interacted with power was healthier, Cassie definitely would have gotten more of a hit with the taunt. Because that was never actually what that was supposed to do. Oh well. Hi, Grenville. What do you want out of that question, bro? I don't know, man. I really biffed it this time. I'm excited about it. I don't know what else you would expect. Thanks, Seb. I've been happy to see it as well. With the abundance of class-specific nodes in general content, would it be hard to find places to use superior champions outside of War and BGs? That kind of depends. And that's part of what I'm talking about, honestly. Because we would need to have a discussion about, like, how many of those things do we want to just be like science? How many of those things do we want to be science into Mystic? How many of those things do we want to be at class advantage? There would be a lot of conversations that go into, like, cleaning things up for a superior champ would be significant, but the real problem would be all of the design discussions we would have to do before we even got there. Why wasn't I there for the... I'm assuming you mean the live stream. Because I don't live in Vancouver and plane tickets are expensive. Yeah, absolutely ASAP. I am going up to Vancouver later this month, actually, for the summer party. But going up now for this live stream would be like, thanks for the sub, Bleezy. I appreciate you, dude. But going up for this live stream and then staying there through the party would be literally thousands of dollars in hotel fares or hotel. Is fare the right word for? I don't know, hotel costs, let's say. Um, yeah, but it would be a lot of money for me to go up there early, not to mention all the food because I wouldn't have a kitchen and I would be eating out in Vancouver, one of the more expensive cities in the world, for a few extra weeks. Um, yeah, that would be a lot. And then, like ASAP said, actually going back and forth twice would be rough. I mean, the other thing is that the live streams are kind of a marketing thing, rather than like my job is to make the champion good, not necessarily to show up on live streams. If they want me up there, they know where to find me. Like, I'll take the plane ride. But yeah.
Was that message for me, Stalingrado, or are you watching two streams at once? Because Google did translate it. But if it's for me, I'm missing the context. That's funny, Dilly. I did wonder if they might ask Bitter to be on. I don't know if they actually. I haven't asked him. I don't know if they did and he declined, or if they didn't. But yeah, it would have been neat. I appreciate it a lot, Pleasy. Yeah, Kurt. Some of y'all are excited to see me again, and some of them are looking for an updated description for their hitmen, apparently. Hey, bingo. No, Mo, that's not why. It's not even kind of why. So for Hobgoblin specifically, the poison immunity was because the designer felt like it was a nod to how much poison Green Goblin used. I don't think I personally would have made that choice because Green Goblin is not poison immune, but that was literally their reasoning. For Tarantula, I can say this now because you've seen enough of his kit. You know how he inverts regen rate reductions? So poison is a regen rate reduction, right? But it's not the same as other regen rate reductions. It's not additive with things like Spectre or Despair. As some of you know, it's a separate step and it's compounding. And so like when poison is doing what it's supposed to be doing, how that works is that like if you have one poison, wherever the regen is after regen rate, it'll drop down by 30%. And then the next poison will drop it by 30% of that, and 30% of that, and 30% of that, which means it never actually goes to zero, as you probably know. And so the first thing I tried, because if you check some other characters like iBomb, we do have the ability to zero out or to reduce how much poison reduces regen. I tried to invert it. Apparently, it's clamped at zero, which is probably a good thing because of the way compounding math works. If I had been able to invert it, I then would have needed to see how busted is it if he has 6 poisons on him and he's inverting an exponential increase, right? Like, that was a scary idea that we might not have shipped, but it didn't work, so I couldn't even test it. And so at that point, I was like, it doesn't make any sense for him to not touch poison. And I also felt like it was kind of weird for him to say like, oh, he inverts regen rate reverses or regen rate modifications, period. Everything. Except poison where he just reduces it to zero. That felt weird to me, and so I was like, you know what? It's okay. Let's make him immune to poison. We'll count it in his utility budget. We'll evaluate it in that, and that's fine. I don't know what you're trying to say, Kissine. But yeah, so that's why he's immune to poison, because of a tech limitation and us just trying to simplify things. I'm guessing Stalingrado retracting that means that was not for us. That's okay. Superior class discussion. Spider Gwen would get fun with her buff against superior class. Yeah, no, I know. That's one of the things we'd have to talk about. I'm not sad that Kate isn't a 7-star because I don't need that smoke. Like, I mean, at this point, I'm sad that Kate isn't a 7-star, but I'm not sad that her current form isn't a 7-star. Because I'm very publicly on the record that I am in favor of her Cold Snap getting a tune down so that she's appropriate for release. Because I do miss playing her. This is actually, in a way, my third collaboration, ASAP. This was definitely the most involved. You all know that, like, it's been publicly announced that I worked on Kushala with Vega a little bit. We kind of did some back and forth in the early ideation stage. And then what you call it? I worked with one of our QA guys on Deathless She-Hulk. But Bitter being in the design part of the studio, like also being a designer, meant that we kind of were like going back and forth from the beginning. He was there through all of the playtests. It was a little bit more involved, and so I'm going to talk about this. Like, I'm going to do a members only design log for Black Tarantula for sure. I'm going to probably touch on this in the spotlight video tomorrow because I haven't recorded it yet. But, like, to be perfectly honest, I've forgotten some of where certain ideas came from. Was it mine? Was it his? Was it mine, but it was bad, and then he helped fix it, vice versa? Like, I don't know, but I am. Yeah, it was a pretty intense collaboration, and we iterated pretty rapidly. But I'm very happy with how it came out. Yeah, I agree with you there, Kevin. Like, I really enjoy playing Kate. I feel like I did a very good job with everything except the tuning. Hey, Gray Fox, how's it going, dude? Saw the deep dive. He looks awesome. But he comes to the contest. Yeah, I voted for him as well. It's nice to have him here. That's funny, Kurt. I appreciate it. Also, I don't really think Mr. Fantastic needs a buff. I'm not going to pretend he hasn't fallen off a bit, but I don't think he needs a buff. He's still very, very good in towers. Excellent in questing. And whenever he's tactic, he is good in war. It's a little bit on the line, Arishem, but he does have a baseline source of Spectre, yes. I will say that. Why is it stupid that Onslaught has more heavy reach than him? Please explain to me why that's dumb when Onslaught was, from the beginning, intended to be built around heavies and is built around heavies. Yeah, Reed wants heavies. It wasn't in his kit from the beginning. He's also been very successful with the heavy reach he has. Like, not only was Onslaught built around heavies, Onslaught was specifically built around heavy counters. He is specifically looking for the opponent not having a stun debuff on them. Like that, I'm sorry, but that is probably the worst comparison you could have picked, because it's a character where the kit is specifically about landing your heavy without the opponent being stunned. It's the whole skill ask. Sorry about that, Ersham. Immortal Hulk is an interesting one because I do think Towers gave him some more life. But I understand that it's like that means you kind of have to have him be invested in him anyway. He's also just like balanced on a razor's edge. And it would be very difficult to buff him without taking something away. I don't know. He's particularly in a weird spot because I kind of want to see how well he performs if you just release him with Ascension and see how he punches in towers, right? Because there's a chance that Immortal Hulk is just phenomenal there. And would that be enough? I don't know, but like, I don't know. It's a difficult one because I think what a lot of people would want for him just doesn't make sense, right? Like he's never going to be a top Battlegrounds character. He's just not, because he's built around sacrificing health. And for a lot of people, you need to have Battlegrounds utility to be like acceptably strong. War is interesting because like he has a synergy with Absorbing Man that lets him work in war. That's specifically what it was for. Excuse me. But people still don't use him because it's generally dangerous to be at low health. I don't know. He's an interesting one for sure. Like, because my thought when I say that is, okay, maybe the answer is to try and give him something that makes him better in like a Necropolis style form, right? Um, because if you gave him scaling and then he's good in like long form and in towers, then that'd be fine. That's enough, I think. But if you do that, then in some ways he's kind of a character built around stun chains, and a lot of Necropolis content, or just long form in general, has kind of a vested interest in making sure stuns aren't too easy. So it's tricky. Like the things that you can point to on Immortal Hulk that are quote wrong with him are not easy to fix. And I am incredibly resistant to trying to balance somebody around AI manipulation, Wick. I understand, or maybe I should say Victor, I don't know. Let me know. I understand why you say that, but that's just gonna make you more angry when the taunt fails, right? Like, because taunt is not a guarantee. Taunt does not make them do something. When they inevitably do something instead of throwing a special, and then that costs it to you, and you're like, oh wow, his taunt is busted. Kabam needs to fix the AI. Like, that's not really an improvement. I don't know. I'm conflicted on Immortal Hulk. I'm not sure I know him well enough to really have strong opinions, but that's... Yeah, I think that's all I can say for now, if that makes sense. That's funny, Wicked. Yeah, Mr. Fantastic is fine in towers, especially because like there are like one of the biggest threats in towers is regen. And you know who solves regen by existing? Like leader solves regen harder than Mr. Fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But his actual hit damage doesn't scale as high, and unlike Mr. Fantastic, he's not ascendable. Hey, work, how's it going? Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm not always gonna have full answers, so I I appreciate you being cool with something. Just for the Mystics, Kirk. The other classes are all the same setup, at least for now. I feel exactly the same, Kevin. Like, I haven't seen it done yet, but I very strongly suspect that iHulk can punch up 40. Hey, easy. How's it going, dude? I appreciate it, Ben, but I'm okay. So, my question to you, Fluid, is that not enough? Like, you're talking about a character who does really, really well against two of the most dangerous mutants in the game. and who has broadly applicable heal block, like easy to access, or broadly applicable utility, like an easy to access heal block, an easy to access steadfast, and easy to access instinct. Does he need to be a hard counter to more than dust? Yeah, I know that's coming for me as well, work. It feels so weird to be actively looking forward to pulling Corvus, but here we are. I've only been in it once, Dragonflies, and thinking back, I was actually coming down with something, so I'm probably not your reliable source for the temperature in there. Yeah, for sure, Erisham. Stun chains in general are dangerous. There is a reason that when I built Luke, the first thing I did was rip out the stun chain. And we brought it back in a controlled way, right? With while the opponent has a concussion on them. But I was like, if this character is going to be good outside of some nonsense in Realm of Legends that only YouTubers care about, this needs to go. And I very much stand by that decision. And there was some anger when his rework was released, but I think it was the right call. Because the alternative was Ulk or Ronin, right? Well, but that's the thing, Fluid, is that like sometimes you kind of have to find the matchups yourself, right? Um, like I'm not trying to dodge the question here, but I'm encouraging you to look for them, right? Who do you want heal block against? Where having debuffs is good, right? Like not Sinister, sure. But there are other places where having heal block is good. Who do you want unblockable against? Who do you want to be able to parry non-contact against? Like, I forget, it's been a while since I've tested it, but I'm pretty sure he's decent for Zola. He doesn't really care about cowardice. Not super interested in BGs. Gotcha. I do appreciate the context. No, but it's the phrasing, Snoozy. Like, or it's the framing. Like, of course a character can take more than one defender. The expectation that I'm pushing back, and I'm not putting this on you necessarily, Fluid, because you clarified your point, but I am kind of putting it on Snoozy now. The expectation that I'm pushing back against is the idea that to be valuable, a character obviously needs to be a brain dead counter to multiple dangerous defenders. Especially when we're talking about how different the asks are in something like the mutant class. Because again, he can definitely take more than one defender. Hey, Crom. Yeah, I have an extra token for Deathstrike as well, Udyad. She's great, but I... 3 tokens only per character, please. I will be completing the 4th Karina challenge out of the 6. As a champion selector, do I pick Jean or Stark Spidey? I have Onslaught, still the epics left. Stark Spidey, I think, is mostly a Battlegrounds pick. It's like, hey, if you need a nuke, he's your guy. But I think Jean is probably the more valuable champion overall in the game. You know you're barking up the wrong tree, Crom. It's not my call. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, same work. It'd be nice. I saw you, Contest of. This is not a support channel. Like, submit a ticket. I can't help you. Like, I literally do not have the permissions to do it, even if I want to. And I don't want to, because then everybody will expect me to do that when I'm trying to stream. Yeah, I'm also a fan of minigames, Kurt. And hey, Maya, I missed you in there. Welcome. Evening, KJ. I don't really think it's that big a deal, Arishem, the not getting plasmas. Like, we're not hurting for Bishop counters, and Bishop generally just punishes energy, so the plasma doesn't help. Because his stuff has duration, plasma versus incinerate doesn't matter for Onslaught at all. Energy champions shouldn't be taking Havoc. It doesn't matter for Jean. It doesn't matter for Dust. It doesn't matter for Captain Britain. Like, I think the incinerate is bad against mutant thing is more than a little overblown these days. Like, oh no, Hobgoblin can't take Colossus. It'll be okay. Not really snoozy, because what you're thinking of is the fact that Onslaught punishes Incinerate by gaining... hold on, let me check this. I want to double check myself. Yeah. So, Onslaught reduces Incinerate potency. He does not reduce Plasma potency. But while he's suffering from a plasma, he inflicts a neuroshock every second. So if you are doing plasma over time, which is what Hobgoblin does, right? His whole thing is duration. He applies it over time, he speeds it up. If you do plasma over time, you're not gonna have a good time, right? And so then if we had tried to make Hobgoblin an onslaught counter, then he also needs some kind of very strong answer to Neuroshock, potentially even immunity. Whoops, that shouldn't have worked. Huh. And once you give somebody Neuroshock immunity, then they answer a million other things, and then it's just no, right? Like that's the kind of thing that ends up leading to power creep and to scope creep, and you end up answering too many things. Does that make sense? Jack only works against Onslaught because he deals instant plasma, which was actually my idea. Fun fact. Which is why I'm very aware of this interaction. How's it going, Ozvan? No, I can blame you, Arishem, because that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not actually as many as you think. Mutants Punish Incinerate is, I think, the new every cosmic is immune to poison, right? This, I can blame you, because I think at this point it's misinformation. This is like when Gladiator came out and people are like, every cosmic is immune to poison. Why isn't Gladiator immune to poison? And then I went and I actually counted. And even if you counted all three versions of Carol Danvers, only 25% of the class was immune to poison. And the only one that wasn't specifically related to the Kree was Hyperion. There's a lot of conventional wisdom out there that is not actually wise. Yeah, no. It's a good clarifying point, Snoozy. Always good to learn things. Thank you for the super chattos, fan. I appreciate that. I put that towards the ice cream that was on sale at Whole Foods today. Okay, who in here is a problem? Anyone else? That should be fine. Cool. Hey, Gabby. Planning to take Hopalong to rank 5, caught the tail end of what you were saying. Yeah, I think it'll be a solid rank up. That's kind of what my point was, is that, like, he may not be a world conqueror against literally all meta mutants the way that Nimrod was on release. But, like, it's hard for somebody to be a mistake to rank up when they have anti-unblockable, anti-regen, and parry non-contact. Like, all of those things are just good. And when you also consider that his specials can go unblockable, like, that is significantly more utility than a lot of people realize. It's actually one of the reasons that I put it on Absorbing Man, because I realized just how strong it was on Nimrod and Doom, and I was leaning into it. In hindsight, probably one of the reasons that Absorbing Man came in a little hot. Skills should always stop evade. That's one of them. Although I think I probably would point to the fact that some people... This has fallen off, thankfully, which I think means we did a good job with it. But there was definitely a while where everybody was like, for every new skill champion that came out, if they couldn't take literally every single hazard shift node just because Kingpin and Hood exist, well, then why are they even here? And that was not fun. I'm not at liberty to disclose anything that wasn't on the live stream, Gordana. Oops. Getting slowed is bad. Is this about rivals, Airsham? Yeah, he gets instinct online pretty quick, KJ. Yes, I designed Black Tarantula. I should have just blocked the whole thing. That was a mistake. I wasn't trying to dex it. He just caught me while I was moving. iHulk update punched up 35 with 33 seconds left on the clock. Yeah, he can do 40. That's really cool. I don't know that I fully agree with you, Erisham. I understand the point you're making. But support isn't just healing. Yeah, I believe that is the upcoming season, Dragonflies, that the seating changes are for. Yeah, it's been interesting, Gov, for sure. Oh, I forgot she protected herself. That's probably isn't going to work then. All right, well, let's see how big we can get that degen from the special 3. Yep, needed to wait for the Furies. Can this kill in 5 seconds? Let's see. Oh my god, getting hit by her stupid animation at the end. I will always despise the hitbox on that stupid kick. Anyway, leader can do that, but we don't need to hurt ourselves. If I knew how to play iHulk, I would have fun here, but that's okay.
Nah, it's not Honeydew's fault that that animation stayed stupid.
Because I don't need to AMK. I had plenty of other people.
But that is probably what I would have done from the start.
I was doing this again. I get what you mean, Easy, but like 33 seconds left is also a pretty dramatic amount of time remaining. See, that sounds like a tuning problem, Arishem.
Not a categorization one. Oh, both. Both moviegoer. We do not need to limit those. Hey, Delfino. Black Tarantula is the July champ. Speaking of stupid iframes.
I have no idea, Gav. I forget if I actually answered that. Excuse me. Iframe is a term for invulnerability frame. It's usually used, especially in gaming, to talk about like the parts of a dodge move or other moves, but often dodges, where you cannot take damage, right? So the easiest places to use it in MCOC are in talking about literally dodge again, right? There is a set number of frames that the baseline dodge protects you against non-projectiles, and there is a set number of frames where dexterity protects you against all attacks, right? While the opponent is in their special animation, they are also invulnerable by default, right? So there's no point with most characters in attacking them there, and there is a point at which that invulnerability cuts off. So what Millennial was talking about was specifically how long in X23's special animation it is before you can hit her. And Delfino's correct. Like Dark Souls and those kinds of games, it really matters. Grinfeld, can you please like behave, dude? Like, just ask one question in something other than the most miserable way possible. I think you're being a little bit too technical there, Arishem, because I'm pretty sure there are a lot of games that use iframe in exactly that way. That it is protecting you from hit events. Not from all damage. They're not literally invuln windows, which is what Arishem is saying, but like that's what an iframe is, right? You're protected from hit events. No, I'm not letting you off the hook that way, Grin. If you actually think that that's just asking, then you need to work on your communication skills, dude. I don't know how old you are, but I think you're at least 18 at this point. And you have to do better than that. It's not a language barrier. I've been in alliances with plenty of people who like struggle with English. I work with a few, like, it might be a cultural difference, but then I'm telling you, you need to work past that, right? I don't think it's a language barrier. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, Grin. Yeah, no, it's a good thing to bring up, Gav. I get why you're saying it, and I appreciate you. I don't think that's it here. So in the interest of educating you, Grin, I'm gonna try and give you some examples. Like earlier when you were talking about Reed versus Onslaught, you didn't say like, I don't understand why Onslaught has great heavy reach, but Reed, whose power is to reach things, doesn't, right? You said it's very stupid that things are the way it is. That is inherently an aggressive framing, right? Similarly here, you didn't ask, why do you have points in the defense tree? I've seen other people who don't. You said, why are you running defense tree in towers? It's useless. You are coupling your questions with aggression. That's not a translation thing. That is, your framing is saying this is wrong as you are asking, right? And that is a communication style problem. So if it's not on purpose, work on it. Ideally. Yeah, I've known Grin for a while, say. I like therapy hours with DLL. I can't turn off the teacher. . Yeah, no. I'm not. I am not upset with any of y'all in chat actively trying to be empathetic because because you're missing context and your default is to be more empathetic. That is like, thank you. That is what I'm going for here. We love empathy. So to answer the question, the reason that I am running points in the defense tree is because they're not useless. They keep you alive. Now, if you are playing perfectly and you never need to use more specials than you think you do, and you aren't blocking for tempo reasons, and you never end up taking more block damage than you want to, which means that, oops, I'm below 10% and I literally cannot throw a special and survive the crackback. If you are never running into that, if you are actually that good at towers, then congrats to you. I'm not. I need that extra little bit, and I am making the active choice that it is worth it to me and to my unit stash, at least for now, to only be running, how many is it? 30 points in offense or whatever? 38? Like, let's be clear, what we're leaving on the table is 100 points of critical rating, 120 points of critical damage rating, a few percent of base attack. That's not nothing, but it is significantly closer to nothing than 800 points of block proficiency and thousands of health. And so that's why I'm running points in defense. That's funny, Saint. I came very close to that myself several times. Thanks, KJ. It certainly can be Arishem, like guilty until proven innocent, but it doesn't need to be, right? Like, I've definitely caught myself being that way. This freaking guy and his intercepts. I've caught myself doing that before. But I'm actively trying not to. Also, jeez, did I mess this one up. There's a pretty good reason why I'm running defense, right? If not for willpower, I would have died there. I don't know why I dropped block there.
Oops. I think that was the wrong call. That's all right.
Because Wave is tuned around very short debuffs, Arishem. That's kind of the long and short of it. Yeah, that is me, King. Are any of the towers being released this month going to use the same energy as the class towers? Trying to decide if I want to use all the comp refills. As in, like, the... Oh, not as the class towers. No. That would be... what? Because you also got some refills for the... I don't know why I hit there. I'm sorry, I'm playing Sandman poorly. Because we also got refills for the Saga towers, right? That's what's going to help there. Hey, Empire. Kurt said the same thing. And I said to him, some of y'all might be, and some of y'all are maybe waiting to throw some more tomatoes at the stage. But someday. I appreciate it. I do enjoy being on stream. Obviously. But like also the live streams are fun. Is Hobgoblin good versus Defenders Ironheart isn't good against? They definitely have some overlap. I think there are two significant things in Hobgoblin's favor. One is that while Ironheart does have decent access to Despair, she does not have Heal Block. And sometimes you just need Heal Block, right? And then the other big thing is that Ironheart can block unblockable specials versus Mutant, right? Hobgoblin can just block unblockables. He has access to the Steadfast. And so both of those are the kinds of things that can help take you out in front. So to be perfectly honest, I used to do more research for characters, and I would like to find time to do more again. I wanted to read more for Black Tarantula than I ended up doing. But it varies. It varies by designer. It varies by each champion for the designer. But I felt like I got a pretty decent handle on Tarantula from reading some of like he's in the background of the new Spider-Gwen series. He's not the main one there, but like that helps. Read some other stuff. We always read through the wikis. Yeah. I probably did less this time than I normally would. But he also doesn't have a ton of appearances, so there's not a ton of nuance you really need, honestly. And I kind of had fun with it. Sorry, that might not have been the answer you were looking for, but hopefully that helps. Or works, I should say. I was like, I'm missing somebody. I know I am. There she is. Thanks, King. I appreciate that. I think I haven't said it since you joined the stream, but I did have some help with Tarantula. One of my friends and one of our encounter designers, Bitter Steel, collaborated with me on him. Black Tarantula gave me Agent Venom vibes from the neck down. I mean, there's only so much you can do with a mostly black, white accented bodysuit. We tried to make him as distinct as we could. Yeah, Delfino. I did some like early back and forth with Vega on Kushala. He wasn't involved for the whole process, but we chatted early on, like the start of her playtesting, that kind of thing. I'd be open to it again. It's pretty difficult to justify with somebody who's not in the CCP. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do, but that'll be fine because she's not punching up that much. Because the CCP is already NDA'd and vetted, and that would not be true for someone else. Definitely not like Cyclops. Black Tarantula canonically needs a cooldown for his eye beams, and depending on the adaptation, sometimes that cooldown is measured in days, sometimes it's measured in hours. We took a liberty and was just like, okay, it has a cooldown. You're going to be able to use it multiple times a fight, but it's not just going to be every time you gain 2 bars. Usually, asterisk. We'll come back to that. Yeah, I'm very happy with Kushala. It's really tough because I have thought about that looking back. I do think that like having a dedicated person for me to bounce ideas off of without me feeling like I'm bothering them helps, right? Because like I can always bounce ideas off of people, right? I'm friends with a lot of my coworkers. I can reach out to them and be like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" But if it's more than a little bit, it is probably literally wasting their time that they could be doing other things. So I kind of keep an upper end on that. But like when I'm actually doing a collaboration, there's not that, right? Whoever I'm talking to, like it's either their job to be spending that time and or they are very grateful to have that insight, right? And so I get to kind of polish those ideas more. And I don't think that's the entire case with Kushala because the goal with her that I had was seeking balance, right? And I think like trying to go for balance with both the sorcerer and the ghostwriter inspirations to pull from did naturally lean towards her being kind of a more elegant design. I think it forced me into that headspace. But yeah, I do think that like yeah, having a designated person to chat with generally helps my process. It can be tough though. Like I think in terms of like the time that you are spending doing any kind of collaboration is going to be at least some more time. Whether it's worth it is going to be somewhat variable.
but I don't regret any of mine. I hear you, Kevin. In another world, I would have loved to have designed Ruby myself. She's on the almost list. If I had a golden ticket to design whoever, if I had a golden ticket and if I truly had a golden ticket to design anyone, I would probably feel obligated to use it on someone that I thought was less likely to just be added by the team generally, right? And that makes the choice difficult because, like, for a long time, my friend Madrox, I don't know if he's watching today, my friend Madrox has wanted multiple man in game. I would be tempted on that, but I also think at this point there's a pretty decent chance we just add him before too long anyway. Especially now that we have inspiration with like the Invincible game doing duplicate, right? That kind of thing helps. Honey Badger is one I would love. That's like X23's younger clone. That would be neat. But again, I could see her being added in the future. But I don't know how soon, right? That might be worth pulling the trigger on. I would also love I've said this before, I would love to build Gilgamesh. I would basically try and design the entire kit around that scene in Internals where the bull deviant runs at them and he just does the like boom slap to the ground. I think it would be so fun to build a cosmic like that. But it feels like Marvel is moving away from Eternals, especially in the MCU. And so maybe that would be worth pulling the trigger for. I think that might be my answer right now. Because if I didn't think I was going to get another chance at somebody, yeah, I think it might be Gilgamesh. Correct, Wicked. It is silly, but they made it worth it. I love Honey Badger. Her name is also Gabby. Taskmaster is almost certainly going to get a rework at some point, Kirk, but he is dangerous. The always on ability accuracy stuff and the debuff potency and then immunity is the kind of thing where if we make him even kind of usable, he's probably too strong. And so we will see what happens with him. We'll be watching his career with great interest. Because I do agree, there's some really cool stuff in there. I like the heavy gameplay a lot on him. You would be wrong, Mo. There are multiple people on the design team who would love to design big wheels, because I work with a bunch of weirdo nerds. And I love them. But yeah, I would not be first in line for big wheels. Makari would be up there too. I like Makari a lot. I would definitely enjoy working on a speedster at some point. But for me, Gilgamesh would be a higher priority. Hey, Vital. What you just described is a lot more than a little buff king. Blue Marvel would be significantly overpowered with those three things.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun here. Finally going to unlock recoil masteries. I hate doing it. So the Mystic setup I have does have MD. I don't have collar tech. Or no, that's not true. My other baseline recoil setup does have collar tech. So I have now 5 setups, and 3 of them have recoil because towers. 1 has collar tech, 1 has MD, and then 1 is this nonsense I'm using right now. How far do I think I could climb in towers without the recoil masteries active? It's tough. You are going to be like minimum 10 to 15 blocks behind where you would have been with them on. But see, that's the thing, Work. I would love to work on Blackheart, as you know. I've said for years. But I would not need to use a golden ticket on him. There's no way that Blackheart is a tough sell in this game. It's gonna happen eventually. Yeah, I think I also want OG Thanos to be reworked. If I had to choose one of the trophy champions to work on, it would probably be Kang. Obligatory tech mention. But also because I already got to do with Thanos, and I would want to see somebody else's take on it. But I agree, it'd be cool for that to be good. That's exactly why I didn't do that, Arishem. It's funny, Dilly. I don't know too much about Black Tom. I saw him in Krakoa where he was basically the gardener, but like I know that's only a small part of his lore. That is probably a question for Marvel's legal team, Delfino. I don't know exactly what would be required for somebody like Spawn to work. I don't think it would be easy. Ouch. Not cool, Steve. I know, Work. Hey, Jesse. I thought it was a pretty decent Palpatine, all considered. Um, Potentially dead question, but is there like a power scale that dictates no, they can't be in game? Take Beyonder or example. Beyonder might be on that list because I don't know how we would adapt them in a way that was satisfying, right? Like Franklin Richards is too powerful to be put in game with any kind of real power scaling because the keyboard warriors would be out immediately going, he should be broken. Why isn't he OP? But like Franklin at least has comics portrayals of him fighting and doing things. And so there would be places to start with his animations. There would be things we could do with his powers. Like, I don't think that Franklin would be a problem to add, as nuts as he is. But Molecule Man, I think, is a little bit harder than Franklin. And then I think the Beyonder is a little bit harder than Molecule Man. Extremely worrisome with 0 context. Fair enough. And happy Independence Day. Why do you have to build to exactly 60 charges? Because he was too strong when you only had to build to 50, Arishem. I know people don't want to hear that, and I'm on record as saying that there are some things I'd be willing to change, but the 60 charge point is not one of them. Yeah, I bet it did. Would 7-star Battlecast be possible ever of the ones we have? I hope not. I know that's not the answer anyone wants, but I think from a design perspective, Battlecasts were largely a mistake. They have almost all of them. I think it's like 80% of them by my last count have extremely problematic warping abilities that are already nuts as 6 stars. We definitely could not afford to make them stronger. And a large part of what's keeping them in a reasonable place relative to StatCasts is that you do have to actually choose who you use them on. And even if 7-star Battlecasts were no stronger than 6-star Battlecasts and were effectively just a second copy of them, for me, that would still be a problem. I understand players want it, but I don't think it would be good for the game in the long run because it would cause us, the design team, so many problems that just champions would literally be more expensive to develop, and that has a lot of negative consequences, right? I made the mistake of playing off of the OBS screen again. I really don't need to do that. Starting to lose hope for Demo Goblin. I don't know Demo Goblin work. No, it was a very intentional thing to not have in him, King. And like that's why his special 1 replaces the heavy. But you gotta land the heavies in the first place. I have no regrets on that part either. Yeah, that's not a small change, Arishem. That's the kind of thing that has to be in a kit from the beginning. And bluntly, I think we're overusing it. Gotcha work. Thanks, Wicket. I think it was my Distressed Goblin number 4. Yeah, exactly, Dilly. Again, there are some things that I think could be a little stronger in him, but not that. Like, I'm sorry, but this is why we don't take fan suggestions because, and I'm not saying that on like y'all aren't smart enough or anything like that, right? I want to be very clear on that. It's that until you have done the job a few times, you just don't know where the dangers are. I'm not saying that, Saint. I know you're joking. To be very clear, when I started, I didn't know where the dangers were either, right? Like I've talked I have said before that like I had a lot less time to work on Kate than I did on Absorbing Man. But I think oftentimes that's focusing on I didn't have enough time on Kate. I don't think I did. Especially not for the designer what I was at the time. I think that same amount of time now I'd have been fine. Um but the flip side of that is just how much time I had on Absorbing Man, right? Like your first character at Kabam, you get months extra. It's like twice as long, right? And you use a lot of that time basically being told context that you're missing, times that we've tried this before, issues you're going to run into, ways that that's going to affect tuning, how that's going to affect character behavior. Like there is so much that the rest of the team has to tell you, but can't really give you in a packet beforehand and kind of has to let you know in response to your ideas as you go. Is That's not something that I can like quickly get across to anybody outside. And so like you get pieces of it, right? Because you'll suggest something and I'll say no that wouldn't work because of this. But like I don't mean that in a nothing you say will work or anything like that. I don't mean that in a like you're not capable of it. It's just coming from a place of like you can't get it until you've done the job. The same way that like I there are plenty of jobs out there that I can't fully understand because I haven't done it. No worries, Kevin. I still appreciate the compliment. Oh, I don't know why I'm bothering holding on to these building biz special too. He's almost dead anyway. Yeah, power scaling is tough. And I mean that both in the like the balance numbers way and also in the preserving design space is hard way. Take care, Jesse. Have a good one, dude. Yeah, I appreciate y'all being understanding. Okay, this one wasn't quite enough. That's all right. Do I think Mystique design-wise would be possible to make? Yes, but she's going to be difficult. Whoever ends up dealing with her, it's going to be tough. Because as a reminder, she doesn't actually copy powers, she copies people. And so finding a way to do that in a kit that still makes sense and is satisfying is just tough. I do think it's possible. I think we will eventually ship her once we have like the tech to really deal with model and anim swaps. But I think once we get that done, there's still going to be the very real challenge of getting the kit right. Not impossible, Arishem, but definitely less appealing because we have a tech Doom. Like, how many Dooms do we need? Like, we're already on track for 3 Dooms, right? Whoops, I knocked him out of it. That's my fault. Exactly, Wicket. Like, kit-wise, Mystique probably should be skill. I shouldn't have been letting him regen. I should have just been going to the special 3. I think we're at the limits of leader here. Like, unless it's a Sabertooth. Did we have a Sabertooth further up? No. Okay. I'm not sure we really have room for Void either. Might need to rank somebody who's just a little bit more generically powerful. Yeah, we can try it. Work. I know you know the answer to this. There's a difference between another Spider character that is not Peter Parker and literally the 4th Victor Von Doom. It's why I push back when people say they want Superior Spider-Man, right? Like, yes, it's a different person driving, but that's still Peter Parker's exact body and power set. Like, I personally am not interested in that. And I don't think we need another Tony Stark, right? I don't think we need another Peter Parker. I don't think we need another Tony Stark. And here's the one I know Jason really doesn't want to hear. I don't think we need another Steve Rogers. But that is not the same thing as a different version of Spider-Man, any more than, like, adding Brian Braddock would be just another Captain Britain. Ugh. Okay. Well, that's, I think, Void's limit too, unless we get regen to reverse. All right. Cassie should be fine for Cyclops, but I don't think she's going to have a good time with Groot. Oh, you jerk. A little bit, Wicked. I mean, I'm also on the record as being in favor of skins, right? And that's a very good reason to not add just another version of the same exact character. I mean, that's a good fear to have, King. Mutants shouldn't have power drain. Ah, there he is. Okay, Jason's on a delay. I think it was less no more mutants, Wicket, and more there is no there is no Tooth Fairy, there is no Easter Bunny. For sure, work. Right? Forgot he had that. Okay. Who let me do this? That's not how his name is spelled, Erisham. Much worse. Oh god, he went unblockable. I didn't realize he had that many. Alright, that's fine. Nice, fan. Enjoy. I know you've mentioned this place before.
Yep, every time.
I don't think it is chaos, but it also doesn't need to be, right? Because healing is based on health, and these characters have massively, massively increased health. It's just a matter of how much healing is on offer.
I mean, and this is a good question. Ugh, jerk. But like, if a character like Sabretooth has a bunch of healing, then you have no problem using heal reversal as a weapon, right? But somebody like Diablo, it's just not enough for the tempo hit, right? It's worth it in Necropolis, but this is not Necropolis.
Yeah. No, I understand where you're going. Like, because if it was amplified the same way, then that would probably be a problem, right? Because it would be double dipping, and we would probably need to make sure that towers just didn't have anybody with regen as one of its hard rules. But instead, it just very much matters how much regen they have.
Patriot and Mr. Knight, I honestly don't think they have much in common at all.
Like, they both crit, but Mr. Knight's is all lights. Patriot has big specials. Mr. Knight has a bunch of tranquilize and stops incoming debuffs. Patriot doesn't care if the debuffs come in and just uses them to his advantage. They're very, very different. Hey, Jethro, how's it going? And I'm not necessarily opposed to Andros Stark Arishem. I'm not attached to him, but that is at least not Tony. And it would be pretty easy to justify a different power set. Oh, hello, Jude. I missed you up there. How's it going, dude? Blizzard is so dumb in here. Lego Marvel Superheroes made me want to see Captain America 2099 at some point, not Steve Rogers and kind of Winter Soldier-esque with hollow shield and wings. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to that kind of stuff. Like, in my opinion, there's a big difference between duplicates of the same character, just at different points in their career, and other people wearing the same mantle, right? Like, there's a bunch of mantles in superhero movies. We should see other parts of them, right? Some of those mantles are less unique than others, to be perfectly honest, but I think in general, the idea of additional mantles is a good one, right? That's what gets us like Sam Wilson as Captain America. That's what gets us both Betsy and Brian Braddock. That's what gets us Peter and Miles and Spider-Gwen, right? I like those. But when it comes to like, I want to see a different version of this character that already has a kit in this game, in my opinion, that's what skins are for. Nice, Jude. That's awesome. I'm enjoying your journey. Conchu and or Amit. Maybe at some point. Difficult to do gods, though, especially if they're supposed to be large. I do think that's probably true, Arishem, that Lumitrix and Patriot are closer. Excuse me. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean we have to delete the other versions thing. Although, honestly, I personally would be fine with it. Just means we don't need to add more carols. Galactus made it in. I think it can be figured out. Probably. Yeah, Reed is crushing it. Like, that's the thing. Leader is better at heal reversal than Reed is, and at power reversal. Void is more automatic because you can just sit there and wait for it to happen. Neither of those characters do as much just raw damage as Reed can outside the heal reversal. Groot is super annoying here. Thanks, Sate. I am pretty happy with how that lined up with Photon.
I'm probably going to lose this one. Ugh. I'm finding safe places to throw heavies with Sandman a little frustrating.
No! Ugh, see that? Like, just let the heavy land!
Yeah, Gallon is very cool. He's very clearly Galactus. Like, that's not Gallon of Ta at his desk job. Ugh. Accidentally cancel it out of my own hit.
Finally got to do the full I-bomb rotation in here.
Ouch. Hey, buddy.
Hey, look, shake.
UI scaling is a complicated topic, Corey. In short. I was hoping he wouldn't throw that. Why are you making this hard? There we go.
I completely agree, Work. Dormammu is not, in my opinion, is not somebody who should get a tuning rework. Or a tune-up.
He's basically magic, but with immunities. Yep, there it is. Cool.
I'm happy with Tarantula. Looking forward to talking about him. As far as I know, Danzo, yes, because I believe that was that's part of why they're allowing you to wait until the end of the sale. Otherwise, we could have already sent it out, right? And if we had sent it out already, then some of the people complaining would be, hopefully, theoretically, quieter. But then other people would miss out. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the way it's supposed to work. You spend now, you'll get the comp.
He likes to push my buttons. How's it going, dude?
Yeah. Dormammu's kit is stupid. If you do medium, the opponent never gets a bar. He has power lock and burn on top of that. He has really strong regen. He has double immunities. He's an utterly absurd character. Except that he hits like a wet noodle surrounded in 3 inches of foam. All right, we finally made it to 88.
These should all be more than fine.
Tech needs some help, but they're definitely better off than Mystic right now.
I looked at the OBS screen again. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad spot play.
That is an incredibly loaded question, King.
Whew. I was expecting this bleed to hurt less. Like, this is with inequity, and we started off with a 25% resistance. That's a lot.
The first thing that I'll say, and this is very related to what ASAP is saying, is that balancing and tuning are not the same when it comes to offense and defense. So, like, let's make sure that we're all talking about that, right? Because if your point is that you feel like Dark Phoenix and Serpent are too strong on offense, then you need to make that clear, and you can't just not say anything about defense, because you need to realize that you are having this discussion in an ecosystem where there are constantly tens of thousands of people whining about them on defense. And you can't not have that context, right? So you need to be very specific. If you are just talking about their offense, then there's a few things going on there, right? There is a lot of effort that goes into balancing. And I can't really talk about all of it publicly because, bluntly, there's also some business decisions. Um, but it is worth noting that the balance program was retired before Dark Phoenix would have been evaluated. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I should be able to quit out and not do this one. Before Dark Phoenix would have been evaluated. And when Serpent was evaluated, his offensive performance wasn't quite what it is now. It didn't look quite as strong. It was good, but it wasn't as strong. I think it did come in high relative to our targets, but I want you to ask yourself how it would have gone for us to have nerfed Serpent on offense and left him exactly the same on defense.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, so we get the Sig Stones. Okay, we did get this. Because I didn't even click on it. It just disappeared on Twitch, which is very odd. Because honestly, I think both Serpent and Photon probably should have been tuned down a little bit offensively and pretty much left alone defensively. But when their balance pass was coming up, the community sentiment was overwhelmingly they need to be nerfed on defense. This is totally unfair. This is nonsense. Blah, 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 blah. And so if we had just done the one and not the other, I think we would have had a lot of people be, let's go with very unchill. Hmm. And for the record, because I don't fully disagree with you, King. Like, for the record, the last time I talked about exactly what I would change with Serpent, it was basically all offensive. Because I do agree. He's a bit too strong in hindsight. But, yeah. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to use the restroom. All right, I'm back.
Yeah. You kind of just walked through the whole conversation there, Work.
As long as champion revenue matters, there are certain concerns. This may bite me, but I'm going to try leader one more time because Wolverine might actually be worth it. Cool. That should be fine. You may be in a little bit of trouble here. We'll see. Yeah. No, I totally get it, Work. I'm right with you there, ASAP. You don't have to like the gotcha part of it, but it is definitely one of the rules of engagement. If you're going to stick around, you should make some peace with it. Yeah, I'm with you there, Work. Well, as a reminder, Arishem, energy penetration as a stat did not exist when Betsy was built. Now, I agree with you, there were still healthier ways to code it than what she got. But it's easy to say that the thing that we built because the alternative before sucked
is better than the alternative before. Paviter's evade supposed to work against relics. I don't remember specifically stopping it. I think it's just against basics. Relics would be a kind of basic. I'm double checking. What does the string say on Paviter? If you can respond to that while I'm checking the code. Yeah, I mean, that is what's happening. Evade all. Yeah, because if you want to know, like, the actual... I don't mind giving this window. The actual logic for his evade is on when an incoming attack happens, and he has more than one buff. Or sorry, and he has more than 0 buffs. That's important because otherwise it would constantly be rolling and failing even if he had no chance to evade, which triggers weird stuff, and we don't want that. So he's checking for he has at least 1 buff. He's checking for, like, I am not currently in the invulnerable part of my special, because otherwise you would see the evade call out if you're trying to do the gladiator thing into him. He's checking for not being, like, stunned or in the striker animation or any of those kinds of things. And then there's logic for, like, there's logic to cover the well-timed block part of it, right? It's like either they're in a special or they're in a basic, and if they're in a basic, then am I well-timed blocking? I mean, it's possible that other characters are using more restricted evades and are looking for, like, if it's a light, a medium, a heavy, that kind of thing. Like, that would do it, but yeah, it makes sense that it works on relics because that kind of code will work on everything. Yeah, we're generally with you, King, is just... It's a tough thing, because I do think that, like, there do need to be some outliers. It's like, it's part of the fun of the game for a lot of people, and it's also part of what brings in money, to be completely naked with it. But I also think that there's a lot of discourse in the community dramatizing the difference between the best and the worst champions, or even the best and the not absolute best. And there's a lot of factors for that, right? Like part of it is you get more viewers when you take strong stances, right? Like if you put out a video saying like Human Torch is 20% better than Blue Marvel, nobody is going to care. But if you're like Blue Marvel mid, Human Torch is the best, destroys the Mystic class, you're going to get more clicks. Maybe you shouldn't, but you will. And so that leads to content creators doing that. Because for a lot of them, the money is important, right? It's like it's either the validation of having high view numbers or the money or both. Like of course they have that incentive. They can't not. It's how the internet works, it's how capitalism works, right? So, that's number 1. I think the second largest thing, and this goes for community members and content creators, is that a lot of people feel like they sound smarter when they are drawing distinctions and like taking strong stances, right? You see this all the time in sports. Like you sound like you know more about the topic if you're more sure. And so if you say that this player is the greatest of all time, and no, that other person who's in the conversation isn't actually in the conversation, they don't touch them because of this stat and this stat and this stat. And what you're not seeing is this stat over here, and you just destroy them with facts and logic. And this is one of the few places I wish I had a webcam because I'm doing like bad pseudo martial arts moves. Like that's the kind of approach that I feel like we're just pushed into. Nuanced, qualified discussion is not rewarded, even though it generally requires more intelligence. It is not seen as the thing that is the most intelligent, because the people who are the most right are the ones who are the most sure, and that means they're taking the strongest stances. And so both of those things contribute to like the exacerbation and exaggeration of the differences between like I'm not even talking about A pluses because we all know there are some A pluses, but I'm talking about like people exaggerating the difference between like A minus and B. Because that's the real problem. There are a lot of Bs in this game. And that's good. That means we're doing our job right. But they're a lot closer to the A's than a lot of people are going to tell you they are. And that's going to bring me to the third big point. And hi, Casey. I think the third big thing that really influences this is how many other games are built in a way that rewards this kind of discussion. Like from a design standpoint. I have said many, many times, if you are not pushing Celestial, the difference between like how hard Black Panther Civil War hits and I don't know, how hard Patriot hits is not going to be that big a difference to your Battlegrounds fights. They have different matchups, don't get me wrong, but like for the most part, the difference in just their damage is not going to matter to you. You're talking about seconds. That is a fight that you are probably winning or losing by 2,000 or 3,000 points. It's not going to matter. You don't need to worry about it. It only really worries if you are at a competitive level where the smallest margins matter. But that is because there's so much skill expression in our game, which again is a reason I'm still here. It's a good thing. But characters are closer to each other because the person driving them matters so much. If you turn around and you go to another game like a squad RPG, like AFK Journey is one that I play, right? Or Honkai Star Rail or Genshin Impact or so many other games where they're either turn-based or you don't really control the fighting at all. You just kind of let them go. For those games, there are clearer differences. There is going to be a larger difference between this character that can survive long enough to do this much damage and this character who takes 5% more damage, and that's why they die just before they get their cash out. Their cash out that comes in 5% later, right? Those small margins actually matter. And those tier lists saying that this character is a D and this character is an A are more fair. And so part of the problem that we run into with this game is that this game is such a unicorn. It is so unique in so many ways. It is not literally unique, but it is incredibly rare. And that means that we should be discussing these things with more nuance and more qualification and more understanding than other games. But because people are used to that kind of discourse, they tend to approach this game in the same way. Because it was right there, and so it's right here, except that they're not. And yeah, baffling with BS is very true. I appreciate that, Arishem. I'm glad you have a critical thinking instructor. Yeah, but that's not the point, Jack. That's not the point Work is making, Jack. He's not saying if you give every single player Usafa's account, a lot of people wouldn't get the Celestial. That's self-evident. He's saying if you take one single person screeching about how Patriot is mid, and you give them Usafa's account on the forum, and you change nothing else, they're probably still going to eat dirt a lot on the way up. And I think Work is correct. So I have left Jethro's question for long enough. Do all pre-fights work in towers like Spots or House of X's? Spots, I think, only works on other champions, if I remember correctly. Like, it doesn't work on himself, and so no. But Magneto House of X's would. It just, if I understand correctly, does cost the charges, right? And so he wouldn't be able to proc prowess as much. Oh, speaking of pre-fights, guess I haven't used Torch yet. Hey, Hogan, how's it going, dude? Thanks. I appreciate that, Casey. It's not, and I know you know this, and you're just being complimentary, and so I thank you. But it wasn't really about Patriot. Like you could, and it doesn't even have to be one of my characters that people are underrating. Although I guess in that case, I literally did use two I designed. But it's like this happens all the time.
Nice, dude. I'll be leaving shortly after after this stream to go make dinner. And I head over to my parents and do turkey burgers. I'm looking forward to it. I also agree, or I also wish that, Jack. Because I think if we had introduced the kind like first appearance or something in like let's say the 6-star life cycle early on or something like that, maybe even the 5-star life cycle, and so like maybe you have first appearance 6-star ham, but not the 7-star or something, right? Then I think, whoops, I didn't realize he blocked me there. I think that's the kind of thing that would help us more realistically have skins by now. Buddy. Jerk. Take care, work. Have a good one, dude. Yeah, that like there's some value in tier lists for helping new players navigate, but yeah. It's so hard to build a tier list and like hold on to that idea. Oh shoot. I forgot to actually knock him down. All right, well, it's spot and we're at a good advantage, so we should be fine. But yep, that hurt. Yep. Okay, cool. Oh, that was so dumb. That was so incredibly dumb. I mean, I don't know that I agree would be the best way to monetize the game. I think character acquisition does some very helpful things that cosmetics alone can't do. And they activate different kinds of players, right? There are there are players who care about power, and there are players who care about cosmetics, and there's some overlap between them, but they're not all the same people. And so I don't think that I would want to go back and completely rebuild MCOC around just cosmetics like Fortnite or something, right? Yes, there's a market there, but that doesn't mean that that's what motivates everyone. But I think that the game would be significantly healthier if we had made sure to have a good mix earlier. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Oh, and then I didn't get the freaking trauma. My bad.
Did your wife go to Whole Foods ASAP? Because I spent a fair amount of money at Whole Foods myself today before coming home. I don't know. I'm not even sure that I fully agree with that framing, to be honest, Jack. Jeez. Proc some regens, bro. Hey, Kadinsky. And welcome, Wendy's. I will get to your question in a second. No, actually, I'll get to your question first. You've been waiting in line. So you asked, what was the thought process when designing Black Tarantula? What was I trying to solve this kit? So we were explicitly looking to hit Photon again, to be perfectly honest, and to do it in a way that allowed her to ramp similar to Patriot. But like, not, I don't think I failed with Patriot in making a photon counter. He is a very, very good photon counter, and he does some things to her that Tarantula doesn't. But one, like, basically what I was starting with was the idea that when Patriot fails against Photon, what usually happens is you go oops and you dex where you shouldn't, and then you die horribly. And so with Tarantula, one of the things we started with was we don't want that to happen. We want that oops memory dex to be fine. And so we were playing with a number of different things. We kind of moved off of trying to be a high evolutionary hard counter, to be perfectly honest. He's fine, but like it's not his primary target. But Bitter early on had the idea of it would be nice if like if you dashed the wrong way into his reverse controls, that also saved you. And so that's how we came up with the idea of running into specials on purpose. And those two together ended up building out the evade. I'm not going to talk more about it because the kit's not out and you'll hear about it tomorrow, but that was kind of the process there. And then I forget exactly how we came up on it, but like we knew we needed some kind of regen because if we were going to target Photon, then we knew we weren't going to have willpower. And so how were we going to recover health? Okay, well, we're going to have some kind of regen. Okay, well, Photon messes with regen rate. Do we want to just hit regen rate? What if we want to step further and did the Atuma thing with regen rate? And so that's kind of how we built out the rest. And like most of the other things in there were the consequence of one of those two. I don't think Patriot is nearly as hyper focused a photon counter as people think. I totally understand that you are giving me the conventional wisdom. I think it's wrong. I had significantly more success with Patriot this last season against the infamous Null on 42 than I did even with a rank 5 Absorbing Man. I have stomped high evolutionary bosses with Patriot. I have taken so many difficult fights with Patriot. Like, yes, he's very, very good against Photon. He is also just a good skill champion. Thanks, Wicked. I really like the Atuma thing. Come on, buddy. Yeah, I completely agree, Big Mac. Like I really want skins in this game because part of the reason that you end up with like oops, Serpent is a bit too strong on offense, but we don't really feel like we can get away with nerfing him just on offense is because so much, not all of it, but so much of the game's revenue does come from characters. I'll just be completely honest, like it makes it harder. And while I think that having revenue come from characters in a character collecting game like this is the right move in a lot of ways, it would be nice if we could take some of the heat off of that. It would also make, power creep concerns easier. But it'd be nice if we could take some of the heat off of that with not necessarily the same players, but with the players who don't really care about, they don't care enough to spend like $300 for a champion that's 15% stronger than the one they have, right? Because, like I said, all of that nuance and all of those qualifiers that I think you need to bring to this game, it also means that if you're a skilled player, sometimes you just don't feel like you need to spend on power because it's just out of your price point. But that same character or that same player might drop $100 on a cool skin that they can't get any other way. And when you start spreading out who you're monetizing, that's basically always good. I know that this is a controversial topic, but it's why so many games use ads, right? Because it's a way to spread out the monetization when you run ads of any type. And I'm not a fan of any ads that you have to opt out of as opposed to opt into. I think opt-in ads work pretty well. Opt-out ads are very annoying. But like that's the point of ads, is to monetize people who aren't monetizing themselves so that you can spread out the load, right? It's like diversifying your portfolio in stocks. And so that's why I want cosmetics so bad, is for the same reason, right? It's like diversifying your portfolio. That's a good thing. She did go to Whole Foods. That's really, yes. They have literally half price ice cream right now, dude. I spent $30 on ice cream earlier, and keep in mind it's half price. Hmm. I don't know that I really agree with that either, Jack, because like when you're monetizing cosmetics, it they're still exclusive. There's still FOMO. Like you're applying all of the same pressures that you're talking about people being unhappy with. You're just applying them to a different category of people. That doesn't make it inherently healthier. Actually, there is a bit of rarity creep with skins. That's I really need to I need to finish that. I just need to do more members only videos anyway, because I said I was going to do this for one of them. Just wish his vigilance lasted slightly longer. I do get that. It's why he has a synergy that pauses it during specials. But it was intentionally a pretty targeted vigilance. If you want us to know what you're talking about, Archlifts, you're going to have to add a little bit more context, because remember, not everybody is exactly the same way synced with the... Whoops, why did I do that? With the stream. And you're never going to be exactly synced with me, so I have no idea what point you're responding to there when you're saying it's just better. I appreciate that, ASAP. I wouldn't be trying to take advantage of you. It's good to have both on offer, you know? And yes, I'm familiar with Rivals and with the infamous cap skin that just came out. That might be kind of difficult for me to set up, Hilgen, but I will keep that in mind. I'll ask Bitter how he'd feel about that. She was being rude. For a minute, I forgot what I had just said, Maya, and I wasn't sure what you were talking about, and then I remembered. If you do want a good example of how not to do skins, it's Overwatch 2's launch tactics. Yeah. And AFK has many different layers of skins. I think they're an interesting comparison point, but that doesn't mean they do it perfectly. But like they have skins that are technically earnable by anyone. They call them couture skins. But it's like you have to be playing the game at a high level for like 3 or 4 years before you have a chance of getting one of them. And they're released just as often as the other skins, which their model is what they do is roughly the equivalent of like, let's say every saga you would get like 3 skins. There would be one you would buy with engagement currency, like it would basically be the equivalent of, I don't know, 20,000 Mysterium or something. Like basically it's just if you're playing during that saga, you're fine. You get it. It's free. There's another one where you have to like play the story to get the skin. And then there's another one that's like this one is for whales. It works differently for them because they also have cosmetics for like the player avatar, which is a lot, but yeah. And I do think one aspect of that would be absolutely correct for MCOC. Which is the fact that they don't try and have a skin for everybody right away. Like, especially now. I would not want it to be an expectation that every new character came with a skin, because then that's just, hey, let's just double the work for at least part of the art team and hope that it's worth it. And that's a terrible idea. But if it's something like new characters come out as they were, and then we start like dropping in cosmetics from there, that I think is more interesting. See, and again, I don't fully agree with you, Archlifts. Like I don't think it is just better. Because there's a lot of challenges to it, right? I also think a lot of players think that cosmetics are basically free for devs. Whereas, kits and power require design time. And that is not the case.
That is actually something you have to be very intentional about
when you're building a cosmetic economy. Yeah, no, I know we're on similar pages, Jack. Don't worry. I have not seen it doing the Thanos emote. I think it would definitely be a mistake for the summoner to ever be playable in a fight. I do wish that we had a summoner spacesuit that you could decorate. I think that is another aspect of cosmetics that just gets, it would help so much, right? Like, imagine if when you found a Battlegrounds match, instead of just being your profile picture, it was your profile picture and your name at the bottom, and then like your summoner spacesuit. So the default was just like a white spacesuit. But then if you were facing somebody who had like finished Celestial multiple times, then they have like some kind of corrupted null fire armor thing, right? People care about that. Now, that would require us to change a number of spots in the game. But I think it would be cool. This guy is not throwing specials the way I want him to. And it's about to cost us. Please crit. Thank you. Oh, I don't think that's true, Archlifts. Like you could when you say the challenge is creativity and resource management, that's the exact same thing that gets thrown at people selling power, right? Oh, just design your way around power creep. That's your job. You're supposed to do it better. Like, trust me, I've had that thrown at me. You jerk. All right, throw it. Thank you. Without us getting into specifics, I don't want to do a back and forth argument here. I'm skeptical about your take because humans have a lot of practice basically monetizing fashion, and that's generally what cosmetics are. Let me put it this way, because I definitely don't like I trust you that you have experience, and I'm not trying to make this be like any kind of like dueling expertise or anything. But where I'm coming from on my skepticism, to try and put a qualified point on it, is that I'm a little skeptical that it's just people being worse at monetizing it. I think there is an element that sometimes it looks like people are worse at selling cosmetics than power because there is a bit less demand in places. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of the core of it. Because I've had discussions with people in the industry who feel like once a game is selling power, they can only sell power because nobody would ever spend $1 on a cosmetic that they could spend on power. I think that's completely wrong. Um, I don't think that's the case. I know several people in this community, and like I talked about, I think our game is just set up in a way where there are people who chase power but don't spend that much on it, who would spend on cosmetics, right? But I think it's just that it's like it's a Venn diagram question, right? And that's why I personally think that we should have both, because I see it as hitting both. But that's I don't know. I feel like we're kind of at the limit of this particular conversation. I do understand what you're saying. When's the last time a new fighting stage has been added? The what you call it, the castle. It's not Doomstadt. I'm thinking it's the purgatory one, right? Hassenstadt. That's the most recent one I know of. Okay, I think Spider Woman can still punch up 35, but that's going to be harder than punching up 20. No, I did understand that part of what you're saying, right? Like you're saying it's less of a design problem and more of a marketing problem. I understand. I'm not fully convinced, but I get what I'm picking up what you're putting down. How would you even begin to distribute or choose which champions to give cosmetics to, like logistically? I don't think that one's particularly hard. We already have to pick saga chases and battle passes, right? It's the same kind of process. Sagas give us this big thematic wrapper that let us do cosmetics, right? Like, I'm going to say something that is probably going to instantly make some people angry. Hi, McLeod, welcome. But keep in mind, this is purely a hypothetical. So, the hypothetical is this, right? Imagine that we do an engagement thing for Deathless Ascension in the future, similar to how we sourced them in the first place, right? You have to do some work to get them ascended, right? I mean, right now, if we did this next year, it could be as simple as like there are 3 Ascension tokens in 3 different pieces of content, and you have to do all 3 of them to get A2. If you do any one, excuse me, then you get A1, right? Purely a hypothetical. If we did that for all of the Deathless, then it would be good for us running the game because it would keep people playing. That's what engagement is good for, right? But now imagine that we had cosmetics in game, and if you like, as we were doing that, as we were running these engagement things, we also let you spend $20 to buy a skin for each of the Deathless champions that, like, I don't know, was a light palette swap or something, like added some gold or some purple to their like relative monochrome. It we would let the art team come up with that, right? But like, imagine that engagement for Ascension. So like, we're keeping people playing for the power, and then we just allow people to pay $20 for each skin, which means over the course of the year, that's $100. Like, relative to our sales, that's not a lot. But if we manage to activate a bunch of people who don't necessarily spend on the sales but wanted the skins, that's potentially a lot of money. That is the kind of diversification that in my mind might make sense. Clearest example of what I saw was in a Roblox game. A particular gadget add-on, basically purely cosmetic element, was advertised but basically never sold. I'm not sure I follow the WBC. That might be an abbreviation I'm not familiar with. And hey, Cyber, welcome. Oh, okay. But during its second round of sale, it did sell a decent amount because it had become a prestige item. Okay, yeah, that makes sense as well to me. Thinking like a true businessman. I do try to listen when other designers speak, right? Like, I will be vulnerable for a minute here. I am very aware that I have no formal training in the job I have right now, right? The reason I got this job is because I was intelligent within the context of Marvel Contest of Champions, not that I had a bunch of game design experience. I now have a fair amount of game design experience, but it is focused experience, right? In a particular game, in a particular part of that game. I know that no matter how well this game does, I'm probably not going to be here forever, not until I retire. If I'm wrong about that, cool. That's nice. Stability is good. But like, probably not. And at some point, I'm going to need to get another job in game design. And I'm going to be a lot better off the more I understand of monetization and econ and art processes and live service and event design and encounter design and systems design. And so I am drinking in everything I can. I don't have power in those parts of the game, but I listen. Yeah, I follow what you're saying there, Artslips. Yeah, I can empathize with that part as well. You pick up some things. Which just took my head to Treasure Planet. I know we have some fans of Treasure Planet in the audience. So I was just thinking about was it Long John holding up his like robot arm? Give up some things, chasing a dream. It's kind of the opposite of that. Anywho, this one's gonna be tough. Okay, so that's only three characters needing to punch up. That's theoretically possible. Let's see. Absolutely, Cyber. Treasure Planet's one of my favorite movies. I've always liked the Treasure Island story. Ooh, I need to stop. I just realized if I go through this full tower, then I will be late for dinner. But I will answer a few questions. No! Okay, that's doable, but that's tough. That's gonna come down to crit luck, I think. Yeah, funnily enough, Archlips, I've talked a little bit about this before, but like I was at GDC this last year, and I went to a talk on cosmetics. And most of the examples were from Counter Strike or Call of Duty. It was really interesting. I appreciate that, Arishem. I again, no formal training, but like I had a lot of context for what was valuable in the game because I'd played it for 8 years, and that is, like I said, a large part of the reason why I was hired. But I also the advice I got when I was hired was like, you know the game, we know how to design, just pick up how to design from us, right? And I took that very seriously, right? I drank up all of the design wisdom I could from my colleagues because there was a lot. I work with some very talented people who do have formal training. If you somehow could mentally sell the idea of skins are cool and create a type of, oh wow, much easier. Yeah. Yeah, and that was part of my earlier point as well, when Jack and I were talking, is that like unfortunately, if you're monetizing a live service game, you are working off of FOMO, like one way or the other, whether it's cosmetics or power or anything else, like you're probably working off of FOMO because it's at least a little bit, it's probably driving a fair amount of your monetization. And that is unfortunate. It's not really fun to psychologically think about, but unless somebody starts establishing endowment funds for games to run and keep adding content over long periods of time, that's probably going to be how it is. Yeah, no, I've heard some of that stuff around the skins. Reminds me of like the EVE Online economy. Okay, so Wicket said, on the note of not having formal training, do I personally do the coding for champions I design, or is it more of a these are the mechanics I want? I do the coding. Depending on who you talk to, you could call it more accurately scripting. Some people say like, yeah, I don't code, I script. And I've also had people push back and say like, no, what you're doing is coding. Like for anybody who meaningfully understands coding, this is coding. It's just I don't like work in C sharp, right? Um we have gameplay engineers that maintain the coding language that we use, and they work in C sharp. So we have a proprietary like scripting language that was built for MCOC and has been improved and maintained over the years and has a lot more tools than it used to. And I have helped build out that language, right? I've submitted a lot of tech requests for, hey, we need this syntax, or hey, we need the ability to read at this point in the damage calculation, or hey, we need this other function. So I feel very attached to the language that we use. But yeah, I actually do the building of the champions in that way. And I will say, when I was hired, one of the other designers asked me if I had any coding experience, and I told him I had a year of high school Java, and he thought for a minute and he goes, "That's probably enough." And he was right. When you say also, you mean in addition to? Because if so, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that the people I work with use C Sharp, but I don't know. If you told me I was wrong, I wouldn't be shocked. Not sure if I've heard of Warframe. Yeah, I've heard a little bit, and that's the kind of thing you need to build, right? Like, yeah. Anyway, I need to run because I am making dinner tonight. But thank you everybody for the chat. This was a good one. I'm gonna close down on YouTube, find somebody to raid on Twitch. Talk to y'all soon.